Very good.
So £12 a bottle, which is not unreasonable. Much lighter than the other reds that we've
Bit
got.
like our humour.
Bit like our humour, cheap. But so if you want to start opening that,
Fantastic.
my first job, because I needed to pay rent, so I stayed up in Hull, which is very cheap to live, but you still need income, obviously.
Yep.
And I did that for 5 or 6 weeks.
How many cucumbers did you pick?
I don't know, because the analytics wasn't really there, or the data wasn't anywhere. So I wasn't really counting that. I was getting fair enough. I was the first person to ever sell it 100% remotely to a lady in the Orkney Islands.
Wow.
Who had a travel agency up there.
Wow. Very good.
Leaders aren't defined by kind of being controlling or dictatorial. They're defined by having the best people around them to support them.
Yeah.
I think it has the potential to be. I think it's very young in its growth curve at the moment.
I went into school. I wonder what happens if I pull out from one. So I pulled it out. Whole thing went down.
Of course,
nobody knew what was
going on.
You
guys know, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So then I gave it a little while, maybe about half hour, 45 minutes with the IT teacher going nuts and not understanding what's going on, and quietly went, oh, I think this cable's come out over here. I popped it back in and everything started working again.
The biggest misconception is how lonely it becomes when you get higher up, because there's fewer people to talk to.
Yeah.
Because they all look up to you.
Yeah. My advice to young Sanjay would be, actually, you had the ability, you should have just done it.
Yeah. What happens when someone with a Neuralink possibly passes away, unfortunately, but then where does that data sit? Who owns it? I'm going to throw this out as a random stat and you can tell me if it's right or wrong. I think we're over 50,000 views across all platforms now.
I think we are now, yep.
Right, well, good afternoon, Sanjay.
Good afternoon and welcome back to, is it the 5th
episode 5?
VinTech.
After the, what we call the Friends.
Was it the Friends episode? No, I don't think it was.
That was the first, no, the first one, the pilot.
The pilot.
Pilot's
the pilot, that's right, yeah.
So yeah, good reaction again. So last time out, we drank an English Chardonnay from a vineyard in Kent called Balfour, which was very nice.
It was.
So today, we're going to go back to red. We'll come on to that in a minute. So when we were chatting about what we were going to talk about today, I got thinking about, there's topics that we can talk about, like SpaceX's IPO, for example.
Yep.
Under 16 social media ban announced in the UK.
Correct, yeah.
But actually I thought, what does our audience absolutely love? And it's clearly us, because that's why we're vocal in what we say, right? So what I thought we could do today is to get the audience to get to know me and you a little bit better. We'll talk about how we got into technology, our career paths, career progression, good moments, bad moments, all those kinds of things about careers, so that people can understand. Because I think from what I know, we took very different approaches to how we got into technology.
Yeah, and I don't think actually we've really delved into that ourselves either. I know we broadly know what we've taken, but I don't think actually we've really.
Did you not read my CV?
I did.
Okay, stop there. So should we introduce the wine first?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will let you obviously talk about the wine as per usual.
So as always, on the way over, deciding what it would be that we like, and we've gone back for a light-bodied red wine today. So not like the Chateau Neuve de Pape or the Bordeaux that we've had previously, they're very heavy winter wines. This is much more lighter. This is M&S's own Beaujolais Villages.
Very good.
So £12 a bottle, which is not unreasonable. Much lighter than the other reds that we've got.
Like our humour.
Bit like our humour, cheap. But so if you want to start opening that, so this is Beaujolais is in just south of Burgundy in France.
Yeah.
And there are 38 villages that can produce Beaujolais wines. It's all from the Gamay grape.
Okay. The what grape?
Gamay. Gamay. And dependent on where in Beaujolais the wine is produced, it will have some of the wines that are produced in the south of the region is much lighter than some of the ones that are created in the north of the region, just because of the microclimates.
Yeah.
But the grapevines, they're usually on slopes.
So this is meant to be lighter or darker in colour?
The colour should be about the same, but it shouldn't taste as heavy as one of the winter wines that we've had.
Fine.
Interesting fact as well about Beaujolais, which you may or may not know, but I know because some of my friends used to do it. On the third Thursday of every November, there is what's called Beaujolais Nouveau Night.
Okay.
So Beaujolais Nouveau is one of the annual productions that you drink it very young, in effect. Yeah. But I know people that own restaurants, catering businesses, The race is to get the first bottle of Nouveau back in the UK and opened in your restaurant
Right. Okay.
on the third Thursday of every November.
Fantastic.
So I had friends that used to fly over.
So we're gonna bring one back in November.
Yes, I think we should do. Yeah, I think we should do.
Good. There we go. Put that in the diary.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, should we have a little taste?
Yeah. Why not? Absolutely. Okay. Definitely smells different compared to some of the other ones we've had. And I can't quite put my finger on what it smells like.
I think if you will, when I say light bodied, once you taste it, I think you'll understand what I mean.
Yeah.
So I think this is actually one of the wine. I know we talked about this in the second episode. This is one of the red wines that is very nice chilled.
Well, maybe we can grab another one and put that in the fridge later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Might be a good idea.
Yeah.
So
nice.
it is. It's very, very good. Very, very good. I think very good recommendation again, and a good little talk around the wine and great knowledge. Well done. So where do we go from here now? So we want to talk a little bit about how we got into IT, what our career paths were, and actually, was it as straightforward as you wanted to do IT, I guess, to start off with? Or did you find yourself into IT? I mean, let's open up with you today, actually.
Okay.
If that's all right.
Of course it is, yeah.
So I guess maybe, let's just hand it over to you. Why don't you tell us where you started from, and then what it was about IT that sort of made you progress and a career into it from maybe start from the beginning, I guess. First job, maybe?
First job. So, after university, I stayed up in Hull.
What did you do at university?
European Business Studies.
Okay.
Didn't do it particularly well,
Okay.
but did it. And I went cucumber picking.
Fantastic.
With my first job because I needed to pay rents. So I stayed up in Hull, which is very cheap to live, but you still need income, obviously.
Yeah.
And I did that for 5 or 6 weeks.
How many cucumbers did you pick?
I don't know because the analytics wasn't really there, or the data wasn't in the structured manner, so I wasn't really counting. I was getting fair enough. So that was interesting. Then I went to a short-term temporary contract working as a planning coordinator in a local council.
Okay.
So I was naming roads, basically, which was interesting. But I got very bored with that. So then I got this, or I got my CV put forward for an IT analyst business.
Okay.
I'd never even thought about working in technology.
Yep.
So when I was at school, my careers advisor, I wanted to go into hotel management. I thought that'd be easy, but obviously it's quite hard. Now you've been seen a bit more of the world. And so I fell into doing telesales to open up the Northern European market for selling events, magazines, brochures, selling to the likes of Microsoft, IBM, Data General.
Give us your best telephone voice. Go on.
Hi.
Opening.
Hi. So I got that. It was great because it was just when Windows NT had been launched back in about 96, 7, something like that.
Yeah. So this was your first jump into IT then, I guess.
It was my first jump into sales. I knew nothing about technology.
Okay. Right.
So that was interesting because, selling to people in Sweden or generally in the Nordics or Holland or Germany, to get them to sponsor an event to talk about Windows NT. So it was people like, obviously with Microsoft, you try to sell.
Of course,
But also, do you remember Data General?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
So they used to build a lot of critical servers that ran Windows NT.
Okay.
It was IBM, it was some of the usual suspects back then, before the ecosystem was as big as it is now, really.
Yeah.
And I guess 3 or 4 months in, I'd done quite well because I'm a born salesman. I like relationships. So that part of it came relatively easy to me. But I actually somehow managed to grab the concept of what the technology was and looking at it from a business point of view.
Yep.
And that's not something I'd ever taught. And then I got curious about it.
Yeah.
So you start doing a bit more of your own research into it, reading some of the research notes. And that was my first foray into it was, this is when we get a fax back from a customer confirming they were going to sponsor the event.
So what was the first bit of tech then that you thought was, oh my God, this is amazing? The more you sort of started understanding about it.
It was an intranet.
Okay. Okay.
Generally it was because we sold, we did an event and some publications around the advent of intranets.
Yeah.
And what's an intranet? Wow, sorry, internal communications portal.
We should probably tell people what the equivalent of that is now, because there's people going to be watching that probably don't have any idea what the intranet was.
So an intranet, I tell you, I guess at the moment it's SharePoint or Teams. It's a front door to employee information, a single place to collaborate and work together. But then it was more about how do I access company policy? How do I get this document? Oh, Andrew's just run a marathon or whatever they'll update. So it's just an information portal internally for customers.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, this could be game changing.
Okay.
because you're no longer just writing bits of stuff on paper.
Exactly, yeah.
So yeah, that was the first thing that genuinely excited me.
Fair enough. Good, very good. Sorry, I'll let you continue there.
I think I've got a whole plethora of roles, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But then I moved into software sales.
Right, okay.
So the company that I went to had built the UK's first, actually, web-based travel management system for travel agents.
Okay.
So looking at the independent 4 or 5 people travel agencies
Yep.
that typically turned over about $1 million and a half a year. And it was an online booking system where they've got broadband, connect a few PCs in.
Yeah.
There's all the information you need for the booking.
Right, okay.
That made me understand the power of software, really,
Okay.
because you could see how it could genuinely transform a travel agent's business from going from a roller deck with paper.
And one person sitting in an office or something like that.
And the fun fact about that is I was the first person to ever sell it 100% remotely to a lady in the Orkney Islands.
Wow.
Who had a travel agency up there.
Wow. Very good.
And so then kind of my role, I kind of went from being pure sales.
Yep.
Never deep-rooted technical, but I wanted to sort of find somewhere in the middle so that I could retain that ability to translate technology into business, because that's where I saw my value being in some of those roles.
Yep.
So yeah, it got more technical. And then that expanded. I became sales director at an £80 million reseller and managed service provider, which we sold.
Yep.
That happened a couple more times. Went to a French subsidiary in the UK to become CEO of that and run that in the UK.
Yep.
Which was my first foray into kind of CEO, MD type role.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, the bottom line is my route into technology was not technical. It wasn't because I wanted to do technology. And I think what's interesting now in this day and age is that you can't help but be touched by technology every day of the week, whereas previously it was very different.
And do you think that's curbing people's interest maybe in technology now, that people are going, actually, because they know so much about technology, they don't really want to go and do a technology role. It's just, I want to try and do something else that sits around technology? Or
I think it's just evolved.
Yeah.
Because I mean, obviously there's still very clever technical people that will always be,
of course,
be required. But I will say, on my 3rd year at university, I did a placement. So there was government funded what they were called training and educational councils, back at Techs back in the day. That's when Windows 95 got launched. So suddenly you've got this email thing pop up.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, this is so cool. But I digress slightly. But so I think it's interesting to see. I think you need different skills now because technology is pervasive and it's all around you, regardless of where you go.
Yeah.
So you always need relationships, or the ability to build relationships.
Yeah.
You'd always still, I think, need to be able to communicate well and directly with people. And I think there will be technical roles, but I think those roles are just evolving into what's needed next, because that's the big question of AI, is that.
Exactly. Okay. So, I mean, are you still, obviously now, how far are you away from what the current job you're in now, from what you've just covered off?
I think the current role is an amalgamation of all those things.
Okay.
Because you've got to understand business, you've got to understand technology, you've got to understand some finance, some HR. You see, you kind of, the most important thing of the role that I've got now is having the best people around you.
Yep.
Because that you've got to trust people to also get on and do stuff, because leaders aren't defined by kind of being controlling or dictatorial. They're defined by having the best people around them to support them.
Yep. Okay. So
that's a lot of lessons learned.
No, that's fine. I think you already covered off your first bit of wow technology.
Yep.
That really made you think, oh my God,
this
is
cool.
Yeah. So tell me, what is the coolest bit of technology that you've now, all these years of experience, that you still think was the absolute best thing ever? And it could be current. It doesn't have to be anything old.
Oh, it's AI.
Do you think it's AI?
That's got to be. I mean, think about it. There's the internet, there was cloud, there's AI.
Yeah.
There's the big 3, generational changes that have come around.
Yep.
I think artificial intelligence is being used a lot more now.
Do you think it's got the most promise out of all of the 3 you've just spoken about? So, obviously the internet was game changing. It connected everyone to everyone.
Yeah.
You had numerous bits of information now all collated in one place that you could search it, a type of a button and a click, basically, effectively. Cloud you obviously spoke about, which is now a big thing where, it's already there. I'm not going to do too much into that. But do you think that the AI is the biggest game changer in all 3 of those that you've seen?
I think it has the potential to be. I think it's very young in its growth curve at the moment in terms of, I mean, the use cases are phenomenal, theoretically, and there are some great applications of AI out there in the market at the moment. My fear is that the capital investment required to drive the infrastructure, the connectivity for AI to keep growing in the nature with which it's growing, it's going to be a very big ask for a return on that investment over 3 or 5 years.
Fair enough.
And indeed, we're even seeing now, Grok is selling spare server capacity to other AI businesses for like $10 million a month or whatever, because they haven't got that compute capacity to be full yet. So I think it's got huge promise.
Okay.
Where we end up with it, I don't think anybody knows.
No one knows. No, it could go in multiple different directions, as something we were talking about later on, but maybe I'll come on to that later.
Yeah. So let's just jump on.
Do you want to jump into me now? Okay. I want to have a sip of wine first before we get into this, because it might take a long time.
I'm sure it will do. Start again with because again, I think I know a little bit about it.
Yeah.
You had a more, I guess, structured route.
I think it was
technology.
So I think I love tech from a very early age. I think the fact that anything that had a battery or an electronic circuit, I would try and take apart.
Right.
It would be down to any of the, like, you used to get those motor cars, put a battery in it. Because I used to take the motor out, take the cogs off the end of them, connect them to a new battery using sellotape or whatever, and then I used to use it to etch into metal. Because you could write your name and stuff.
That's right.
So I think I was curious with that kind of stuff from an early age. Computers wise, I don't think I had my first computer until a proper computer, mind, until I was maybe 14. And this was somebody that had given my dad a PC to try, with a 5 1/4 floppy in its drive, which had the OS on there. So you'd have to plug it in every single time. And the only thing you could do on there was type a couple of words. So that was obviously, I was like, thank you, but no thank you. But it piqued my interest.
Let me tell you then, I've just reminded me, I had an Amstrad CPC 464, which I played golf on.
Fine. If we're going to go that way, I say my first ever computer, but okay, I had a Commodore Plus 4, which was with the old tape.
Sponge piece.
Yeah. Had the old tape that you had to put in there, and I think I had Pac-Man on there. And there was probably the only game we ever used to play, and Pac-Man was great. So that was fair.
Still is.
Yeah, and then I think we then bought our very first PC. It was an ICL, if you remember.
ICL, yes.
That had a DOS operating system on there, because Windows hadn't been released yet. And it was an absolute nightmare, because my dad had some friends who were doing IT at the time and all that type of stuff. And they were like, oh, well, you haven't got the latest version of DOS. So they'd come up and give me this stack, basically, of discs. Because DOS was basically split across potentially like 64, like 3.5-inch floppy drive discs. So I'd have to sit there one at a time, like, learn the commands, DOS commands to upgrade it and all that. So I was like, this is pretty cool.
Can I just stop for the audience?
Yeah.
When we say floppy disk, the save as button in Word?
Yeah, that's
basically what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd just sit there playing with that, and then I found out, you could get into different directories, and then you could edit sort of files to make a computer run faster and all this type of stuff. So then I was hooked. I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And then I don't think I did anything like IT related at school particularly, apart from pull out an RJ45 cable or what were they called now? It was an RJ45 cable at the time, but basically like the one the coaxes used to do. That's how they used to connect a network at that time.
The internal network.
So I must have gone on a work experience actually at 16, and I worked with an IT team, and this is how it all connects. So I went into school. I was like, I wonder what happens if I pull out from one. So I pulled it out. Whole thing went down.
Of course,
nobody knew what was
going on. You guys know, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So then I gave it a little while, maybe about half hour, 45 minutes, with the IT teacher going nuts and not understanding what's going on, and quietly went, oh, I think this cable's come out over here. I popped it back in and everything started working again. So, moving on from where I think I ended up getting my first job doing sales, a part-time job in an electrical firm, and they happened to have computers there at the same time as well. So I took a bigger interest in selling computers to people, and then all the latest models, and then realized that you can start buying parts for computers. Then started building my own, and I was like, this is really cool again. Moved on from there. So I think I learned quite a bit from there. So I didn't just learn about computers from there. I learned about the different content of products, all the different operating systems. I learned how to sell there as well,
Yep.
which was like crazy. You have somebody coming walking off the street and they don't know what they're buying. They want the best
Absolutely.
advice. So I learned a lot around, building trust, confidence,
Yep.
telling people the
Yeah,
right
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And that was twofold for me. Um, then I finished college. I finished school, finished college. Still wasn't quite sure what I wanted
Yeah,
to do,
yeah.
but I knew I liked IT. So then I basically went into that one and moved into sort of IT. And then I went to college and did computer science,
Yep.
um, which wasn't what I expected.
Right.
I mean, there was a load of stuff around programming languages and all the rest of it that it's probably totally changed now, but it was absolutely useless if you wanted to go out and get a job. I did an industrial placement in my third year, which was probably and that was funny enough, at work doing IT for a really large travel agent.
Right. Okay. Okay.
So we were doing the IT. I spent the whole year there, learned pretty much everything from, working on desktops to servers, all about emails. And then from there, I was lucky enough for them to keep me on while I was finishing my final year, and then went back directly into that job again when I finished. And then I think I was like, right, okay, I need to learn new stuff. So moved on to somewhere else. And I think progressively over the sort of next 4 or 5 years, I was going from one job to another to learn
Yep.
new things. I then started learning about not just desktops, but servers.
Yep.
I was looking at things like firewalls.
Yep.
That amazed me. I was like, hold on a minute, there's pretty cool stuff you can do with all this.
Anything with the DMZ.
Absolutely, yeah. Even to the point of building custom firewalls using Linux operating systems. So I was doing that type of stuff. And then the game changer, I suppose, for me was I discovered Exchange.
Yep.
And I got to a very high level in it as an Exchange administrator at one point, but I was still keeping my finger in all the pies for everything else. So yeah, I mean, I progressed into that, and then I got to a point, I think, once I got married and had my first child, it was like, this is a lot of effort to keep up consistently with like knowing what the new technology is and doing exams, as it was the big thing back then, having all the certifications. So I was given the opportunity to go, well, do you want to do a team leader type of role, but you sort of be a player manager as well? I was like, actually, that sounds good. I still get to keep a little bit of my technical side of it. So I did that, which then morphed into basically just being pure management. I started looking after data center teams, one team to another. I then progressed off into doing stuff around being a fixer, sort of cyber thing, really. Problem accounts and going to manage that. And then I learned a load around service management, project management, disaster management is probably the best thing as well. So going in, fixing problems, getting out of there and moving on. And I think that was a combination of all the knowledge that I'd had. I was still very technical, so I could speak to technical teams. And then effectively, I took a few head of roles, which then led me into where we are now. And then that's just built over time.
So how do you think that experience has built you as a person over, say, 15, 20 years to the role that you're now doing as ops director?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, it's a lot of experiences, a lot of different experiences. I think had I not moved from potentially doing what an engineer does to then managing, I think where I can now relate to people, relate to staff, relate to other, anybody I talk to realistically around whatever level I want to gauge it at, I can do that. I have the ability to do that. And I have the ability to see a problem quickly and deal with a problem quickly. I think, and all of that has come from all the different scenarios and situations that I've been in, basically.
So what would you say on that career journey is the most memorable thing that kind of gave you confidence or changed the way you thought about things? Is there one standout thing?
Yeah, I think it was. I think I mentioned it earlier on. It was the fact that I took that leap. I was at that crossroad and I had two options. It was one, carry on being technical and stay like that for the rest of my career, or make this jump towards a management type of role. And I think that was the pivotal bit for me. I think that made, for me, I then took an interest in other parts of the business, how they work, how are people managing things, are processes, are they correct, how are people dealing with certain situations, and actually, does that make any sense, or we're just overcomplicating things? But I don't like overcomplicating things.
Of course.
So that, I think, was a defining moment for me.
So in that kind of journey, then, has there been any mentors or people or things that you've remembered most that really helped you to think differently or become the person you are in business?
Yeah, I think so. There's maybe a couple of standout people. I think one particular person, I won't mention who they are, but I think what they brought to the table, we were very different in age at the time. So I was 20 something, they were 50 something, but had a big responsibility. What they did for me was actually give me the ability to be able to just go, right, you're doing this, you're managing it, you've got carte blanche, get on with it. So that confidence in me at that age really meant for me, I was like, right, okay, this is, and they were always there for like advice. So if there's something that I didn't quite get or wanted a situation handled or how to deal with it, I think they were always there going, have you thought about doing this? Which then has stayed with me ever.
And can you ever see yourself working in a different industry?
I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so, because as much as I don't need to be technical, I can't get away from it.
Yes. Yeah.
It's one of those things where if something new comes out, I just want to know about it. I'm curious, and I want to know how it works. And typically I can go, well, it's very similar to what this used to do.
Yeah.
So I understand it. So I don't think I'd ever work in any other industry. It might change. You never say never.
No, you don't.
But I think I just love tech too much, and it's ever evolving.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, a very fast pace.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Anything else you want to know?
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
On a sunny beach.
Okay. That's all I'm getting.
Yeah, that's all you're going to get, mate.
Okay.
That's all you're going to get. No.
I mean, do you still want to be doing it?
I think I'd still want to be in some form. Potentially maybe, advising other people, looking at how I can help other organizations get to where we've got to, or use my experience to enhance something that they're potentially working on would be ideal, I think, as well.
Yeah.
But from a nice beach would be good.
Nice bit. I think one of the important things, because obviously they always talk about skill shortage generally.
Yeah.
But quite a lot of that is in technology skill.
Yeah.
Is that the route into technology doesn't have to be particularly structured to be successful in it, right?
Yeah.
As we've said, from mine going through cucumber picking and business studies to you doing more technical route and then going managerial, well, I want to get a bit more technical.
Yeah.
So we kind of met in the middle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a really positive message, because IT sales is seen as quite scary, quite volatile, quite high turnover, quite aggressive. If you're good at it, then you can be rewarded very well with it. But I also think sales per se is never seen as a career. And some people are very, very good at sales and make a career out of selling. And there's nothing wrong with that.
My advice for most people would be, to everyone really, is if you can get into some sort of sales role at a very early stage, it opens up so much.
Yeah.
I know a lot of salespeople that have turned into great CEOs.
Yeah.
Because they understand the cycle from start to finish as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, it doesn't have to be a career, but it will be that path to get you to wherever you want to get to. So, and it doesn't matter industry wise either. You can just take that knowledge and use it in an industry that you're good at.
Yeah.
Is the best way, I think, to try and do stuff like that.
So what's the biggest lesson learned in your career so far? Whether that's something that's gone wrong that you had to fix, or just from someone else, or?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. That is a tough one.
I'll tell you mine then.
Go on, then you do that while I have a think.
If you're ambitious, you always want to get up to be as senior as you can be in a business, whether that's MD, sales director, ops director, whatever it might be, right? And I think the biggest misconception is how lonely it becomes when you get higher up, because there's fewer people to talk to.
Yeah.
Because they all look up to you.
Yep. Fair.
So I think accepting that as soon as you get into your first head of position, for example, and realizing you don't have to have all the answers, it's okay. But also then realizing that I'm not chatting to these 20 people all day now because I'm elevated to here.
Correct. Yeah.
That was quite a dawning realization for me. It took me a bit of time to adjust to, until I did speak to an MD of another business and said, do you get lonely at the top? And he said, it's so different, Andrew.
Yeah.
Because it literally stops there.
Yeah, no, actually, that's probably a very good example. I didn't even think about something like that. I mean, sometimes you just brush it off, don't you?
Yeah,
and that's probably why I didn't even think to say something like that. But you're right. You almost go, well, I've got to be seen as that person who's trusted and everyone. So who do I be? Who's going to be my confidant? And yeah, a perfect example is if you've got a a friend or a peer that's in a similar position is probably the best place to go.
That is definitely
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I need to answer that now because I think you've summed it up for both of us really there.
Yeah, I think it's important thing to realise.
I think it is. I think it is. It's always looked as being a really glamorous thing. You're at the top of your game now, but yeah, you forget about that element of it.
Yeah, you do. You certainly do. Certainly do. So, what advice would you give to young Sanjay?
Young Sanjay.
Yep.
I would say to young Sanjay, what would I say? I think there was probably a few opportunities where I could have taken a bit more of a risk, and actually, had a maybe a bigger leap, a quicker leap.
Yep.
Which would have maybe helped me progress a little bit further on.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, some of the experiences between that time were very good and they helped me become who I am. But I think my advice to young Sanjay would be actually, you had the ability, you should have just done it.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
And yourself?
I think mine would be listen more. not now because I've learned that through my career.
Fair enough.
But I think, because I came from the sales route, confidence is king when it comes to sales.
Yeah.
So, you're in effect, you're marshalling internal resources to help you to win the sale, but you're not actually selling anything.
No.
You're just developing a relationship. So I think I don't think it would have changed the trajectory of my career, but I think probably listening to more senior people earlier.
Right. Okay.
Might have helped me. It might not have helped me
Yeah. No.
at the same time.
Yep.
But I think I was overly confident in my ability, should we say.
And that's not a bad thing.
No. That's not arrogance, by the way.
No, absolutely. There is a big difference. Having that confidence in your own ability is something that everybody should do.
Yeah.
And you can come across cocky sometimes, not you particularly, but people can.
Yeah.
But it's just a little bit.
Just a tad.
Yeah. But it's a good thing to learn and be able to have that ability to believe in yourself. Takes you from A to Z a lot quicker than everybody thinks that it's possible.
So here's might be quite a tricky question. I don't know whether it will be.
Go on.
So you've got, I'm going to say, 2 teenage boys.
Mm-hmm.
What would your advice be to them at that age?
At the current age?
Yeah.
So I've already said.
I know you have these conversations.
I've already had this conversation with them, and I openly encourage them to say, think about something that you could build that would make life easier. I mean, with the advent of all the vibe coding, they could easily go and build something. I read something the other day that there's a 17-year-old a kid, 16-year-old, they've built this bit of software and it's sold for basically, I don't know, 40 million quid.
Yeah.
It's a joke. Yeah. I mean, the things the way you can bring anything to life now, I would say, look, here's £20, £30 to go and spend, rather than go and waste it on some nonsense bit of clothing that you don't need, or trainers that you don't need,
or take away money house.
Or take away. Yeah, absolutely. Use that and try and build something.
Okay.
And I think more and more now that's the way the world's going to progress. I think we're going to get a load more entrepreneurs coming out, and it's going to keep going like that. I think for the next 10, 15 years. So I think that the upward curve for entrepreneurs is going to go through the roof.
Yeah. Okay.
But again, start with the basics. Sales.
It is.
What can you do in sales?
Yeah.
Because if you want to get to that point of selling something and you want to be the CEO of that company, then you need to have done the hard graft, and you be able to talk to people, build that relationship, spark that interest to, if somebody's walking down the street and you happen to see something like we have on our t-shirts, have that ability to go up to that person and go, what's that all about?
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I think that's probably my advice.
Okay. Interesting.
And what would you say to, I mean, obviously you've got older children now, but
so my girls are 23 and 21.
What advice did you give them maybe 5 years ago? Actually, would probably be the thing. What direction did you think it was going to go in? What advice did you give them?
I give them that advice.
You said get on with it.
Well, basically, yeah, because I've always told them, and they've never really understood. My eldest now works in industry, so she now totally gets it after 12, 15 months. My youngest is still at university. Believe in yourself. Because you don't. My example of my career path is great because I don't know what I want to do. I've got a psychology degree. Do I go down this route? Want to do forensic psychology? Well, I need psychology is also good for recruitment because you've got to understand people. All these sorts of things. So, I think what my advice would just be yourself, and the journey will forge its way
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, makes sense.
Don't try and force it.
Yeah, makes sense.
I'm delighted that she's obviously doing very well in her first role.
Good. Yeah, no question. Right.
What's the biggest motivator for you in your career?
The biggest motivator?
Yeah.
I think it was trying to getting to a point where actually something is yours, and having that ability to know that whatever you're creating, whatever you're moving towards actually comes to fruition, I think.
Yep. Yeah.
And we're hopefully on the right track with some of that stuff at the moment, which is great.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I have some more questions for you, actually.
Yeah, I've been
Been quiet recently, haven't you?
well, it feels like we've just done a day in the life of Sanjay.
Well, no, you started off that though, so it was
That's because you couldn't think of any questions, though, to
well,
be fair.
plenty of questions.
Go on then,
Questions.
that's all.
Yeah, I'll think of one in a second. So did you actually? We didn't really cover for you then. Did you have any mentors that really stuck with you? And is there any I guess principles that they taught you that have stayed with you your whole career?
So I was very good friends with. I was sales director for the managed services side of the business, and there was a sales director for the product resale side. I was very good friends and worked with him for 8, 9, 10 years.
Yep.
So I learned a lot about sales process from him. But he kind of, in the nicest way, please don't be listening, hit the ceiling of where he never wanted to go up to become an MD or a CEO. That he was quite happy with that role.
Yep.
And so I learned a lot about sales process from him, which was invaluable.
But I guess so. It's interesting because actually, having worked with different people that have got a sales background, I think your approach is very different to the traditional approach. I mean, you still follow the same values. So is that something you learned from that particular person? Or is this something that you've created over time?
I think it's created over time, but influenced by that certain person.
Let's face it, you cut the bullshit.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Which is brilliant because you suddenly go from like a 12-stage sales process down to 5.
Yeah.
So which is fantastic. And personally, that was something that I wanted to learn, and I've learned from other people.
Yeah.
But actually, shortcutting it, which is the kind of things I like to do, because you're doing process for no reason, is fantastic. Which is what I've learned from you, I guess. That will now stick with me forever, effectively, which has been brilliant. But don't cry, mate. Don't cry. Don't cry. You can cry in 8 years.
Oh, that's quite okay. Yeah, that's one question then.
Yeah.
Is that all you've got?
Well,
without making it an interview.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem, right, with this. I mean, I don't want to be asking you interview type questions.
So yeah, and so today is the day that the UK announced a ban on social media for under 16s.
Yep.
I'm grateful in a way that my children are 23 and 21.
Yeah.
But there's part of me that says, did they spend too much time on their devices when they were growing up to 16 plus?
Yeah.
What's your view on this? Obviously, your children are affected by this when it comes into force next year, I think it is.
Yeah, they will be. They will. Oh, one of them will be. The other one won't be.
Right. Okay.
So that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I think the content that is available now, it's probably not appropriate, really, and it's giving people a false narrative around what's acceptable and what's not acceptable.
Yeah.
So in a way, I think is a good thing.
Yep.
Because you need to give young children the time to grow up and understand the differences between reality and what's on social media. Because as much as they get told at school, what happens on social media isn't always correct and it's fake and all the rest of it, they won't really know until they grow up to a certain point and go, actually, what is this rubbish?
Yep.
I don't need to follow this. I don't need to copy it. And I don't need to take the examples from it.
Yeah.
So I think 16 is probably a good age, I think, to have that. It'd be interesting whether they actually do, or they supplement that in schools with a better program around social media.
Yeah, agreed.
So I'll keep a keen eye on that. Yeah. But I think overall, I think it's probably good. How it's going to be policed, I have no idea.
Well, I think so. The only other country to have done a blanket social media ban was Australia.
Right. Okay.
Which is under 16s again, I believe, and 60% of under 16s still find a way to use social media. So it's great that you're protecting 40% that haven't figured out how to.
I guess
that policing thing, to your point, is critical.
I guess the only way that's going to happen, right, is if you're forced to provide your passport details, I suppose.
Well, they are looking at things like Face ID verification for look how old
Yep.
you're on, that kind of stuff
Yep.
on your devices and stuff. I think there's a whole plethora of things to be ironed out around it yet. But I think whilst my girls both had phones, they were limited, and we did use apps to control access to Wi-Fi or access to stuff because, when I was growing up, it was get kicked out at 8 a.m. in school holidays, come back when you're hungry, covered in mud, jumped off a 4th floor building and drank out a hose pipe.
Yeah, absolutely.
I seem to have turned out all right. So I think it's important to get some of those old values back in, because it's okay to be bored every now and then.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying with that, but I think also the world has changed a little bit as well. I guess we felt safer then because we were oblivious.
Yeah.
And I mean, as you say, it didn't do us any harm.
No.
We still went out there, got out there, which then made us be the people we are, I suppose, because it gave us a little bit about us.
Yeah.
It made you know that to be aware of your surroundings. I mean, at the moment, most kids are going to be walking around and stood
exactly
like this when they're walking on the street.
I'll be mad when they get their phones out on the street, because it's going to get stolen.
Exactly. So there's a lot of stuff, and potentially with the social media, with the ban on that, is that going to bring back a different culture? Because are people going to be thinking less about, all these mobs and all this stuff gets posted out and everyone turns up, hopefully that's going to disappear. Will it disappear? Who knows? If it does, then actually that might bring change.
I'll just say one point on it. You mean the flash mobs? So I just say my 72-year-old neighbour went to one a couple of weeks ago. So I don't think age restriction is the issue there.
Yes, just don't do it.
Just don't do it, fools. Okay, all right. So broadly, wait and see, but at this moment, you're in favour of it.
Yeah, I think so.
Is that fair?
I think so.
Okay.
So now we're moving away from just the boring stuff we were talking about ourselves and introducing people into our life. So something I saw, I think yesterday or today. So obviously you mentioned about the SpaceX, which we did a whole episode on. And by the way, that's going to accelerate twofold now. So I reckon, what do you reckon? It's going to move forward a little bit, or you still think it's 2030 to the moon?
2030 to the moon, 24. I can't look and say this. No, I think 2030 for the moon, because they've just announced the Artemis 3 crew, I think, last week as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's going to go through the roof. Now, the other bits, I keep an eye on what Elon's doing, because he's a smart guy. I mean, I don't know where he gets all these ideas from, me probably, but
I think he follows you on LinkedIn.
I think he does. He does. He's one of my followers. He's obviously got the Neuralink as well, which he has, which, his idea behind it is to go, by the way, there's 20 people on that, I think, at the moment. So his idea is, getting movement back, is fixing, eye problems, people can't see, all that type. So fantastic. What I've just read is that a similar device has been released in China. It's already in production, and it's available on the equivalent healthcare systems in China for people to basically start using. Which is crazy.
Yep.
So it's already helping with mainly movement at the moment. You don't need to intrusively drill into people's brains and nerve systems. It sits just on top, obviously inside your skull, but not as in anything like that. And it just basically, I think there's two things. There's a glove potentially for certain things, which then sends the impulse to the glove, which helps you move, pick things up, all that type of stuff. So the advancements, I mean, it's not as good as the Neuralink, but to be able to have that now and the difference that's going to make on people's lives, and it's available on healthcare systems. Brilliant. I mean, what's your take on those type of devices?
Well, I think let's do two things. It's much easier to produce and adopt in an economy that's not a free economy, should we say? Be quite polite when I say that. So it is easier to do, build, deploy, manage type things, because you can just do it, right? You can mandate it. I think that there is a place for them. As with all these things, my concern is what happens to the data. Because you talk about like digital passports now and digital wallets that people have. What happens when someone with a Neuralink possibly passes away, unfortunately, but then where does that data sit? Who owns it?
Okay. Well, they're all questions that will be asked, because some of the stuff they're talking about is uplink. with Elon started uplinking consciousness and memories and things like that into PCs. You know, I know where that's going to lead to, but let's not start that conversation right now. That's going into, well, I think that's all going to go. You know, the idea probably is transferring consciousness of somebody to live longer. I suppose it's probably what he's aiming to do, because I know he wants to live forever. Is one of the things that he said. So no doubt he's got an autonomous bot that he's got ready for all that type of stuff. And
I don't want to live forever.
Well, people are different. I mean, he's obviously wants to just continue, and he's probably got like a 10 billion ideas still that in his head that he wants to bring to the world. But that might be his reasoning behind it. But
I think once you've extracted my one thought, that's not a lot more to go in there, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, well, yeah, you know, your wisdom, Andrew, could live forever.
Yeah, well, it will do. It will do. Okay, so I think we're probably coming to the end of where we wanted to go with this.
I think so.
We've done careers, how we got into tech, we've done advice, we've done mentoring, and we've covered a bit around technology and various bits. What's the one killer question that you would use in an interview?
Use in an interview, as in ask somebody?
Yes.
This is the age-old boring one, but actually, whether you'll know or whether you won't know, my interviews are just completely off the record.
Yeah, well,
they're just chained. They're just completely different. People turn up to them and don't really understand what's going on.
Yeah.
They're just, and somehow I still manage to understand what they've done and what they're doing and whether they're a good fit as well. So I guess, is there one question that I ask? I'll be giving away too many secrets if I did. I always like to end with a stupid one.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is something silly, like, you know, tell me 3 things you had for, you know, your 3 favorite breakfasts or something like that.
Fine. Okay.
Which again is like, or, you know, give me a Nando's order.
Yep. Yeah. Chicken.
There we go. So it's little things like that. I think, as I say, my style is very different when it comes to interviews. So all questions are really difficult, stupid questions.
Yes.
So I couldn't probably answer that.
Okay. Fine.
Do you have one?
How many lawnmowers are there in the UK?
There you go. I have no idea. This is one of your fun facts, isn't it?
No, 18 million. It is one of the fun. No, but the reason I don't think anyone's ever got it right.
Yeah.
But I like the way they have to think, okay, so there's 72 million people, probably 30 million properties, 10 million of those might be flats or apartments that don't have a garden. I just like the way the process works in their mind.
Has
Getting the answer right.
Anyone ever got close?
No, they haven't.
Okay. Do you update that figure every year?
Depends how many lawnmowers have changed.
Fair enough. Just double checking.
Always.
You know, we'll make sure your data's correct every time.
Data is correct, don't you worry about that. So anyway, summarise, what do you reckon to this wine?
So this wine, I think you are absolutely correct. I think it's a lot lighter than the other ones that we've had. Obviously, the Barolo was the king of wine, and it was the creme de la creme, I think, for what we've had so far. But this is something that you can still drink in the summer, I think.
That was my point. Was
and you can easily drink this and just.
And you understand why quite nice chilled as well?
I definitely think we should try it chilled. I think it would be. I think at the moment the flavors are still quite strong, but I think having it a little bit chilled is going to be a bit more refreshing.
I think so. Yeah.
So we'll test that out and let people know in the next episode, maybe.
Okay, so just as a reminder, this is the M&S Classic No.35 Beaujolais Villages. Retails at £12, which is good value.
Very good value.
I've really enjoyed that Beaujolais. It's been very nice. So, like I said, 38 villages that produce different sorts of Beaujolais. But I think not bad for a summer red, I would say.
No, definitely. Absolutely.
So, people, thank you for listening again.
Yep.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, get in touch. And if you want to come and join us in our ramblings, please get in touch with us and let us know. We'd love to have guests on here now.
Absolutely. Yep.
I'm going to throw this out as a random stat, and you can tell me if it's right or wrong. I think we're over 50,000 views across all platforms now.
I think we are now. Yep.
So that's not bad for the first 5 episodes.
Yeah, we are doing very well.
The Friends pilot. As always, it's been a pleasure.
It has indeed. Thank you very much. Well done again.
Until episode 6, my friend.
Episode 6.
Adios.
Bye bye.